All right. Hey, everybody. Yes, there we go. Let's get that music down. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 10th anniversary celebration of me being on YouTube. That's what today is. It's what we're doing. I'm in a really good mood. It's, you know, may you live in interesting times. These are interesting times, but these are times to just kind of ride out, and that's what I am doing. And I am having a really good time with this channel and with this work. And looking back today at 10 years of this work has been a trip. It has been a real trip for me. So we got a few things to talk about, but first I want to acknowledge all of my wonderful skeptics or critics, skeptical critics in the comments. I see all of you usual suspects there, and I acknowledge all of you. You guys are awesome, and I really appreciate your continuing viewership and support and love for this channel and for what I am trying to do here. There is so much for you guys here on this channel, as you know, and well, it's been 10 years of producing content, right? As they say, producing videos and work for you guys, as well as, you know, having written my book and all the other things, all the other water that's gone under the bridge. We're going to talk about some of that today. And in fact, we're going to take a little trip down memory lane. I have documents to show you. And none of this was in the write-up that I did today for Tony's Substack. I did a write-up that some of you might have seen. Thank you so much, guys, for your congrats. Awesome, Laura. Thank you for those gifted memberships. Always appreciate that. I did a write-up today because one of the very amazingly bizarre things that happened to me 10 years ago when I was in Twin Cities, Minnesota, getting out of Scientology and readjusting my life and hitting the reset button twice, you know, because I basically hit it when I left the Sea Org. It was like this was going to be Chris's life 2.0. It was going to be a whole new world for me. And, you know, and then Scientology kind of got in the way of that. And then I kind of got my head out of Scientology anyway. And I'm going to walk you through some stuff on that. But yeah. Oh, wow. All the way back to the old internet message boards. Wow, OBG Foster. Wow. Awesome. So yeah, so I just have a couple little notes here. This is really flying by the seat of my pants, except for some prep that I did for you guys. Because I've been thinking about it for days. You know, what do you say? You know, I was a very different person 10 years ago, and I was a very different person 11 years ago, and even a very different person 12 years ago, you know, when my head was still in the Scientology game. Oh, let's go to the, let's get the chat up on the screen. Sorry, guys. There we go. Okay, good. Oh, thank you for that super chat, Alex. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, so nice. Oh, thank you, Robert. Awesome. Thanks for the super chats, guys. Keep them coming. It's okay. I could use it. Okay, so not the same, right? But also, you know, you guys aren't the same. YouTube isn't the same. Cults and how cults are thought about isn't the same as it was a decade ago. It's so different now. And Scientology is not the same. It's different now, you know? We have hurt it. We have exposed it. We have shown the world the abuses of it. We all have done that. And that means something. That work means something. It means something individually for every one of us who were part of it. It means something for those watching it or seeing it or being exposed to it. It meant something for those who were in Scientology who have since gotten out, like Alex, Like others, so many others. Some you've never heard of and never will because they don't want to go public. You know, they just got out or we helped them out. And so many stories, so many stories. So many heroes, so many tales of struggle and overcoming those struggles and overcoming the abuse and succeeding and moving on in life and leaving Scientology and its abuses behind. Just wonderful, wonderful stuff in this space to think about and look at beyond conflict and drama and all that other nonsense. There's so much good here, and there is so much good that we do here. And I want to celebrate that. That's what's really been on my mind the last couple of days is how to celebrate or talk about, you know, that those gains, those successes that we have had. So just a couple of quick shout outs. Oh, thank you guys for the super chats. I'm probably gonna, let me not miss any of these here, guys. Postate Alex, thank you. Robert Redmond's clip, thank you. OBG Foster, Debbie M, thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Awesome. Okay, some names I wanted to throw out at you. Just none of these are forgotten. None of this is like, you know, I don't think so, but maybe a couple. And this is not an exhaustive list. This is just off the top of my head. Just a few things I wanted to throw out there as terms of milestone progress over this last 10 years. The Alex Gibney, Lawrence Wright book and documentary. Remember, it was, I believe, the most viewed documentary ever shown on HBO. Going Clear, Scientology in the Prison of Belief, based on Lawrence Wright's book, which was amazing. All of that happened in the last decade. Then, of course, following pretty quickly on the heels of that was Leah Remini's Scientology in the Aftermath, which her and Mike Rinder put together. That was their brainchild. They got it out there. They produced it. 3 seasons, won Emmys for it. Like, good hardcore stuff, and really, really, really brought Scientology into the household of millions of people and exposed so much. I mean, I got to be on that. So many of us got to have our stories represented on there, and we got to really, you know, help to expose the abuse. And we got to, and the nonsense and the ridiculousness of it too, you know, and not just the abuse of the religious, spiritual abuse, but the, you know, the physical stuff and the kids and all of it, even the crappy sexual stuff. Laura DiCrescenzo's case, remember that? She was, I believe she was the first one to get the church to give her back her PC folders, amongst many other things. And she successfully, you know, kind of brought them to heel, ended up, anyway, that was a great case. And the Jane Doe cases, of course. We have now seen criminal prosecution of a major Scientology VIP, Danny Masterson. He's in jail and he ain't coming out. And that's how it is for him. I don't think his appeal is going to go anywhere, is what I think. Personally, my take, hot take right now. You know, but he's in prison now, and the world knows about that. That's never going to go away. That stigma can't be erased from Scientology. And it was already toxic enough because of all this other stuff, right? As well as the lawsuits, right? We now have Leah Remini and the JDs and others, right? We still have these lawsuits out there moving along. So, you know, a tremendous, tremendous amount of stuff going on. Oh, Anthony, good question. And let me think about that. Let me think about that one. Okay, since we're on this, I'm not going to try to turn this into a Q&A, but you guys are giving me great questions. So damn it, now I have to answer them. You bastards. OBG Foster. I'm so kidding. I love the feedback from you guys. What can you tell people who have recently left about what their next 10 years will be like? Okay, that's a great question, and thank you for asking me, because I want to tell you, it is not anything like what you think it will be. Not only did I not imagine that this is what I would be doing 10 years ago, right? I never thought, ever thought in all that time that I was going to go back to school, go to a university, get a master's degree. Are you kidding me? That was impossible. Keeping a channel going for 10 years? Are you crazy? That's impossible. But not just those accomplishments, but what it's done up here, right? I said when I first started doing this, in the first year of making videos, I told my friends, I remember on the phone with my mom telling her, if I'm still doing this, if I'm still talking about Scientology in a year, and this is 10 years ago, right? If I'm still doing this in a year, I want you to shoot me. I want you to get me to, I want you to shut me up. I want you to stop me, because that's ridiculous that I would still be talking about this after a year, right? Because that's what I thought recovery was going to take. That's what I thought. I thought, we're going to handle this. I was still thinking like a Scientologist. I was still thinking exactly like a Scientologist. You have a problem, you handle it, it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. It's out of your head, it's out of your life. You don't have to think about it anymore. That is such bullshit. There is no truth connected with any of how Scientology thinks about mental health and mental wellness. And spiritual health, if you will, or spiritual wellness. They got it so wrong on every count. These instant remedies and solutions and this kind of thing. And this is not to say you can't cure things, you can't fix things, you can't address things. But the idea that you're going to snap, pop, and it's all gone. Fuck that bullshit. That's not true at all. And I was still very much thinking that way in my first year and my second year before I finally, dawned on me, oh, this is going to be a while. I'm going to be working on this for a while. Wow, I had no idea how deep the rabbit hole goes. And I think that's my message is, the onion layers are a real thing. There's this analogy I learned early on from a post on Scientology message board is where I read it from a guy named Arnie Lerma, who's no longer with us. He had some really brilliant things to say. He kind of went off in the end there, but he was really helpful, and I even got to meet him and talk with him, and he had written about this concept of the onion layers, and there's these levels of progression that people will go through when they come out of Scientology, how they'll be critical of the church first, but they won't be critical of L. Ron Hubbard first, and then there's these realizations that you have along the way, and it was kind of Scientology-like the way that he put it together and worded it, but it communicates to a Scientologist, and it sure did to me early on, that there were going to be these layers that you were going to have to go dig up and go through and kind of peel off as you get rid of the Scientology out of your head, as you strip the false information and the really the disinformation in some ways, as well as how do you deal with this trauma? What do you do with that? Yeah, right. And how do you and what is trauma? Because I know about charge and engrams and mental mass and mental image pictures. That's how I think about this stuff. Oh no. We're gonna have to teach you some new things. So tons and tons and tons of stuff to learn, right, about all that. And so I would say, in terms of 10 years, I would say that what I just didn't realize how far down the rabbit hole, how deep that was. And this might, I don't know how this is going to sound, but I'm going to say this. Hey, Fluffy Wickets, thank you for that super chat. And the best Tom. Thank you guys very much. Awesome. Appreciate it. I could not and did not appreciate how deep we are too. There's the whole rabbit hole of Scientology and how far down that goes, but there's also plumbing the depths of us, psychologically, I mean, like getting into figuring out who we are and how we're put together and all of that. Way more complicated than any Scientology model that I had. And I love it. Every new layer I learn about, every new thing that is brought, to my attention about this stuff is just another, wow, here's another layer of stuff, that kind of thing. So that would be my very long answer to your question there, OBG Foster. Yeah, next 10 years are going to be like a wild ride that you are not going to be able to predict. And the calmer and cooler you are about it, maybe the easier it'll go, but it's kind of impossible because there is so much to deal with that you just can't be calm during all of it, right? There's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be all kinds of experiences. And you're not really asking for advice, I guess, just what the next 10 years will be like. It'll be like relearning who you are. It'll be like re-meeting who you really are, you know, and always have been deep down before all that cult bullshit was suffocating the hell out of your soul, you know, because that's what it does. Okay. Okay, and then Anthony asks another good question, and so we'll throw this one out there too. What does Scientology look like 10 years from now? Much smaller. And that's all I'm going to predict on it, because predictions are, you know, because who knows? They know there could be something that happens next month that throws everything off. But I think given everything going the way that it has been going, is going, will be going, you know, much smaller. I think we're going to see, I think in the next 10 years, we might actually see our first Class 5 org closures. Like right now, they're kind of pulling in their flippers, and they're sort of combining organizations and sort of, you know, whatever the maximizing the resources, right? Sort of like, you know, I forgot the word for that. Anyway, you know, they're trying to keep what they've got going with the very small number of people they have to man these organizations. I mean, you've seen them in the UK and the United States, all over the place. They're these little tiny pipsqueak nothing places. There's 3, 4, 5 people working there. Even in the big churches, there's what, 50 staff? I mean, that's nothing. That's a tiny company. So we're going to see more shrinkage, and they're not going to be able to keep these orgs all open. I think that's how we're going to see it. I first started thinking like that years ago and kind of floated that idea, and you know, it's kind of going that direction, I think. Okay, good. Oh God, no, I can't do my top 10 favorite most absurd LRH quotes that make no sense out of context. Jesus, I can't think of 10, but I don't know. I'm not any good at party games. Sorry, guys. I'll have to think on that one. But if you guys want to throw some in the comments, maybe that'll kick my brain in gear. Yeah. I have forgotten more than I remember about Scientology at this point. That's another thing, by the way, actually, about the 10-year thing, is it's weird how it just starts kind of leaking out of your memory, you know? You have to appreciate that for me, as a former course room supervisor of Scientology, I prided myself on being able to not just tell somebody which reference they needed to go look at to find some obscure point or show them some technical issue or something. I wanted to and could remember it down to the page number and paragraph of where the particular references were that they would be going after, right? That was a skill I was honing as a Scientology teacher. And I did that for years. And all of that is just gone. It's just gone. If I'm looking for something now, I got to go find the... I got to go find the index for it. Debbie asks a great question. How are the top 10 things you're grateful for in this lovely post-Scientology life? Absolutely, I will tell you that. That shouldn't be hard. Let's see. My wife. Absolutely top of the list, 100% of the time. And appreciating my wife, right? Like that. Let me see. How of the top 10 things you're grateful for? Okay, I'm gonna give 2 things here, but they might sound like they're the same, but they're not. One is Melissa. Two is the return of, or the lifting the lid off of my willingness and ability as a person to invest that much in somebody else. To want to yeah, you know, to feel like there's, I mean, I know that's, you know, love and all that kind of stuff, but 10 years ago, that wasn't anything. I didn't experience that the same way I experience it now. And it's not just age or growth or something. It's like something's different in how I process or feel or experience emotions and deep feelings, right? And emotional needs, all that. So that's something I'm very thankful for, is that becoming more within me, my ability to, you know, to appreciate those emotional experiences and people and all that. I think you get the idea. Okay, I'm absolutely going to say Benson. It was next. Melissa, for, you know, emotional and, you know, appreciation. Absolutely Benson. My dog is absolutely high on my list. You know, the fact that I can do the work that I can do and actually like carve out, you know, a living doing this, helping people, talking with you guys, getting information out to you, sharing my opinions, and you care, you know, like that kind of stuff. But more than my opinions, I mean, real hard information and stuff that can really help, you know. That whole opportunity and the fact that that's a reality for me is something I'm very, very thankful for, and very, very, did not have in my life before. You know, under the appreciation for, grateful for food. You know, cooking, you know, being able to enjoy food, all that kind of stuff, not just, because I was thinking today about things that have changed over the last 10 years, and even eating is different. Seriously, I used to sit down, and if my food was still on my plate 5 minutes later, something was wrong. And I know there's a lot of fast eaters out there, but I'm just telling you, for me, it was like uncomfortably fast. I mean, there's and no real appreciation of food, you know. Even these little things, and they're not so little. They're actually the things that make life worth living. So that was kind of a big one. Let's see here. I think that's 5. Other things I am grateful for in the post-cult life. My friends, my non-Scientology friends, the fact that, you know, that like the real world people, right? Oh my God, and my family, holy cow, right? My brother, my niece, my nephew, my mom, my dad. I mean, my step-parents, all of those people, even my extended family that I'm reaching out to very, very little bit just now, but still trying. That is something none of that hardly even existed in my life 10 years ago. It was barely registering on the dial at all that family was even a thing, or that the family was something I should be, you know, paying attention to, or wanted to, you know. So having that is definitely a big thing. Art, another thing, big change. You know, I was never, just didn't appreciate it. Wasn't grateful for it at all. Just took it for granted, if anything, right? Didn't even go there, right? Of course, my son, when I say my family, Jesus, how did I leave? Yes. And seeing him, meeting him, going to Australia, that's something else that's gone down in the last 10 years, right? I went to Australia. Still in touch with him. Anyway, I don't want to say too much about him. He's living his life. He's doing fine. He's living his best life, I think. I think he's doing pretty good. Pretty happy about that stuff. Okay, I don't know. I think those are all the things I want to say, because I realized I want to get to this other stuff I want to tell you guys about. And I realized I could be here all night talking about this other stuff. So let me tell you guys about some history that I have not. Here's what I've said. Over all these years that I've been doing this stuff, I have said that 2013 was a really, really tumultuous year for me. It was the best and worst year of my life because I got out of the Sea Org in 2012, got out of Scientology in 2013, but I lost a whole lot in the process. So it was really good that I woke up and touched reality again and was able to live in the real world for, like, really get my feet kind of planted in the real world and start walking outside of that bubble world of Scientology. That's what happened in 2013. And discovering, reaching out, Googling, learning, overcoming the Scientology bullshit about LGBT stuff, overcoming the Scientology bullshit about psychiatry, and then reaching out and learning about, critical thinking and stuff. So these are the things I've talked about, right? You guys have heard this countless times. So let me tell you about a few things you haven't heard about countless times. I thought we might walk through some papers I've been keeping in a file all these years. And I actually, in a, I guess, strange kind of way, was saving these for today, because this would be when they were kind of most significant, I suppose. And what these are is these, you can see some goldenrod here, and you can see some papers, a bunch of paperwork. These are knowledge reports about me, written by Sea Org members and Twin Cities staff in 2013 when I was waking up. We're going to walk through a little bit of the process, and I thought you guys might want to do that. So I'm not going to try to belabor this or read every word or anything, but I thought you might want to see how somebody like me comes out of the Sea Org. Okay, let me set the stage for you, for those of you who have not heard this story 10 million times, just really quickly, where I was at in leaving the Sea Org, because I want to be clear with y'all about where my head was at. I was still a Scientologist. As of the beginning of 2013, I had just left the Sea Org. I left the Sea Org for reasons which we will talk about, having to do with a woman I wanted to be with, having to do with having a life outside of the Sea Org. That was actually the number one thing. I wanted a family. That was the number two thing. I wanted to go up the bridge. That was the number three thing. All of those are very real things. I didn't make those up after the fact. Those are the reasons that I left the Sea Org. And I thought that by leaving the Sea Org, I could go be a public person and pay for my services and get up the bridge. And I also thought, having met this woman out in Minnesota and my marriage having been, a joke and having fallen apart years before, I thought I was going to be starting a new life, right? Like Chris Shelton 2.0. Here we go, right? This is going to be the second half of my life. I think I was 42 when I did all of this, 42, 43. And I thought this was going to be, a redo or something like that, right? Well, it was, but not at all in the way that I imagined. So it was in... Oh, Alex, thank you for those gifted memberships. Awesome, man. Thank you so much. You guys are so cool. Okay. So that was where my head was at. And what I did was I left the Sea Org in Los Angeles, out in California, and I drove up to Sacramento, where my mom lives, and I stayed with her for a month. And I maintained communication with this woman in Twin Cities. I'm not going to tell you her name tonight, but we are going to talk about her. And I was trying to figure out how I could get my life set up to go back there, to be with her and do my whole plan. Get up the bridge, get a job, blah, 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 right? So it took me a month after arriving in Sacramento to kind of get settled. My mom helped me. She gave me a place to stay. I started putting out resumes and stuff, looking for work. I had Scientology all over the resume. That I didn't get any callbacks, and I didn't understand why. And I was trying, right? Nothing was working. And then I finally got a job with a woman, a Scientologist out in Twin Cities, who ran a tile making company. And she was willing to hire me, and because she knew who I was, and I had worked with her when I was out there. And so I packed up, and my mom had helped me get a car, and I drove it across the country in January of 2013, and I showed up in Twin Cities, and everybody lost their goddamn mind is basically what kind of happened. And I don't mean everybody, but some people. And I'll tell you, here's how this goes. Let's go to the exhibits page. I have to switch over here because I have displays now. Now, first off, here's okay, so there's me in 2009. That's a screenshot from that first YouTube video that I did, which we will get to. But there I am in 2009. That is me about 10 months off of the RPF, right? I had graduated the RPF. I went to work at Bridge Publications. And I hated it there. I hated making books and doing that work. That was just not my thing. And so I finally, after about 8 months of that, 8 or 9 months, I got myself onto recruitment and going out and about all over the Western United States, recruiting new Sea Org members. That was I was on projects from one to the next to the next. I just went, and I spent all of 2009. This was the very first recruitment project I went on, in fact, and this was in Seattle. That's where this picture's taken, and the parking lot outside Seattle. In fact, here is another picture who I was there with. This was another Sea Org member. This is not the woman that I was connected with in Twin Cities at all. This is another Sea Org member out in that I was on project with, and we went up to Seattle. And these photos were taken by folks from Anonymous back then. Anyway, and so that was kind of me in the Sea Org. So then I show up in Twin Cities, and the staff there, some of the staff there start having a problem. Now, I don't know if you can, I doubt you can actually read this. Let me see what this looks like on the screen there. Yeah, if you really stop and pause it and all that, I guess you could. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to read you this whole thing, right? But I want to give you a flavor for what I was met with when I arrived. Now, I'm not a Sea Org member anymore at this time. I'm a public level Scientologist. I'm trying to go do Scientology. I literally want to give them money, want to do services. That's my frame of mind when I hit Twin Cities. And of course, what did I do? I got on social media and I started making friends. Oh, they did not like that. Not one bit. ChrisShelton was a missionaire in Twin Cities for a few years and was on the CMO establishment mission several months ago. This is this KR I'm reading to you here from January 25th, 2013. He has done recoveries in the field and for years and knows just about every Scientologist, OT committee member, and staff member in the field. That's right. Having personally recovered them or worked with them in some way. He's since left Twin Cities and routed out of the Sea Org. About a month ago, I found out that my PES... Oh, okay, yeah. So this was in early January that I showed up out there. About a month ago, I found out that my PES, the public guy, the guy who's in charge of getting new public in, was very BIs, meaning he was bad indicators. He was not happy. He was sad. As he saw a posting on Facebook about Chris leaving the Sea Org and how he was going to get up the bridge now or something to this effect. This created a bad effect and took quite some work from HCO and the deputy FBO Moore to handle his upset. Literally weeks of work. A Facebook post drove this man to such a dither that it took weeks for them to get it under control. That's what she's writing here. Additionally, the director of processing saw the postings and was upset by this, as well as the DUR intro services, as well as Mercedes Austin, an OTC member. Mercedes Austin is the one who hired me, so I don't know how upset she really was. And that's the first thing I can point to in this thing that's a straight up lie, see? Okay. First of many things. Anyway, the ED mentioned that he emailed her asking if she had any questions, which I did. Here's the thing. Here's why this happened. And it's so funny. I should have pulled up the quote on this, but there's an L. Ron Hubbard quote about what gets you in trouble in this universe. He says there are 2 crimes. He says there are only 2 crimes you can commit that will get you in trouble in this universe. Being there and communicating. Haha, right? It's, kind of a joke in Scientology, but kind of not, right? There are points Hubbard makes about that. It just so happens that the crime I committed after leaving the Sea Org is I was being there and I was communicating. I didn't know. I was so stupid. I was so naive about how Sea Org work that I didn't realize I was supposed to go disappear for a while. I naively believed still that the tech of Scientology, that the principles of Scientology actually could and would be applied by Scientologists to me. And I was sorely mistaken in assuming that, because I was being there and I was communicating, and the Sea Org members in Twin Cities and Los Angeles had their heads explode because of that. Basically, at the bottom of all of this, that was their problem with me, is I was still showing up when I should have just vanished and disappeared and not been on anybody's radar, so they wouldn't have to think about me anymore and what an asshole I was, because that's what they think about ex-Sea Org members. So here's this whole report, and the PES also got a separate post from Chris personally to him, in which he explained his reasons for leaving staff. Yeah, I was kind of silly that way. I thought I would actually talk to people and explain what was going on. Oops. Big mistake. The PES read this to me, and what he said in no way indicated wrongness on the part of the Sea Org, but his personal reasons for leaving. See, I wasn't trying to make the Sea Org out to be a bunch of bad guys. I was going way out of my way not to do that. And I was still the asshole, right? I don't feel the staff need to know this. And as mentioned above, the PES was very upset with the whole cycle. You guys are getting straight Scientology here, just unfiltered. He now has the following people as friends on his Facebook page who are Twin Cities staff. And she basically lists out 25 staff members, right? Because who else did I know in Twin Cities to make friends with? No one. All I knew were the Scientologists. So who else was I supposed to make friends with? Oh, no. And field Scientologists, 12 more of these. This is using, here it comes, this is using his Sea Org communication lines for personal reasons, which is not okay. This is how it began. This is how it started, okay? Yeah, the ED alerted the DFBO and I this morning that Chris was coming to Twin Cities as per what the PES saw on Facebook. Yeah, okay, so I reached out to them first, and then I showed up. Okay. And looking into this, it appears that he has, in fact, planned to come back to Twin Cities. This is absolutely detrimental to the org and field at this point, as Chris was just here as a Sea Org member months ago. He has since routed out of the Sea Org, and this is extremely turbulating to some of the staff, as he was an opinion leader. See, this is how they ruin you. I still could have been an opinion leader, and I could have helped this organization, and knowing everybody I knew and all the things and experience I had, this organization, this church in Twin Cities could have utilized me, welcomed me with open arms, said, oh my God, you've got a bunch of amends to do and you got a freeloader's bill to pay and all that. Work with us. Let's help you. Let's get you going on this. Let's bring more people in. I mean, you see how they could have approached this from a completely polar opposite point of view and had a win-win. But that's not destructive cults. That's not what Scientology would ever in a million years do, because they're not about win-win. Absolutely. This is from the LRH Communicator, by the way, in the Twin Cities org. This is a Sea Org member posted in Twin Cities who was just fit to be tied because I was showing up. And the last line of this report on me is, I absolutely need Chris to get off the Twin Cities comm lines right away. It is enturbulating to many staff and really forwards a bad image of the Sea Org and of him as a Scientologist. Here's what she attaches to the KR, which I thought you guys would love. These are Facebook posts that she copied. Chris Shelton, Merry Christmas to all my friends, new and old. I'm very lucky to have so many good thoughts and feelings from all of you and return the same to each of you in turn. May 2013 bring us all better fortunes and happiness than this last year. Yeah, that's the end theta I was dishing all over Twin Cities is Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all my friends. Looks like it's going to be an amazing year, and I know it will be for me. Good wishes to all. This is the end theta I was spewing all over Facebook about Scientology that was upsetting everybody. Right? Here we go. We found out the job market. This is the next page of Facebook posts here. Well, found out the job market is a little tougher than I thought it was going to be in Sacramento, so I was posting this from Sacramento. But then an opportunity presented itself in Twin Cities, and I jumped at it, so now I'm on my way there to start my new job next week at Mercury Mosaics. Not only did I pull in a job, but with people I know and like, and in a totally great environment. Lots of things came together to make this happen, and thanks to everyone who contributed, and a major thanks to Mercedes for giving me this chance. I'm gushing at these people because I'm so happy that I got a job and I can get to where I want to go. And apparently I am, the devil incarnate. So then, so this is January. This is how it begins. In February, we get another report written on me. Now, I am not allowed at this point. I am not allowed, and I am not going into the Church of Scientology in Twin Cities. They won't let me. I'm making Facebook friends. They're writing me reports on me for that. I'm trying to find out what I can do to help the org. Well, I can't go into the org. So there's nothing I can do. It's winter. I can't run around outside in Minnesota in winter and pass out Way to Happiness books. So what am I supposed to do? What can I do to help the org and help Scientology? Well, you can go disappear. That's what you can do, right? But I never got that message because I thought we were all here to get along. Nope. So then in 18 February, I get another report written on me. This one here, I had scanned and digitized, and this is 10 years ago. It's not as easy to do as it is now. The entire book by Les Dane called Surefire Closing Techniques, which was used within Scientology in order to do sales. And I had digitized it and I put it onto the org computers so the staff would have access to it. And the book can't be purchased or printed anymore because apparently a suppressive person bought the book and won't let Scientology reproduce it or own it or have it. I didn't know any of that. How could I? So I just thought I was doing a big good for the org, and I did all that while I was a Sea Org member and a staff member. And here's a knowledge report telling me, that it was off the rails and totally not okay. Then we come up to April. Moving right along here. And I am now friends with 2 staff members in the org, but I'm still not going into the org. But these are people I'm getting along with. One of them is this woman I'm in love with, who we are now seeing each other, and things are great. I am still trying to get divorced from my wife in LA at this time, because California, I don't know if any of you have ever tried to do a divorce through LA County Court, but and try to do it long distance. It was awful. Once I settled into Twin Cities and lived there for 6 months, I filed for divorce in Minnesota, and it was done in 3 days. It had been months of back and forth in Los Angeles. So that's why the divorce was taking so long to happen. And I have still, I didn't print them or bring them here for this, but I actually still have all the email communications between me and my ex-wife documenting that whole thing. It was months and months of nonsense. So while that was happening, I was dating this woman in Twin Cities, but we were keeping it really, really on the DL. We were not telling people. Her family barely knew. I mean, we were just not going there because we didn't want to make a big thing out of it. But I was hanging out with her and another staff member. So I got a knowledge report. Being reported to ethics for using his Sea Org member comm lines as an ex-int missionaire right now as an ex-SO member. You notice this repeating pattern of he's using his Sea Org comm lines for his personal benefit? What does that even mean? You can't find anything she's talking about, even in Scientology's draconian justice codes. This ain't covered. This is this woman, the LRH communicator in Twin Cities, and this report here is the LRH communicator at West US. This is a Sea Org member who's writing this report in April, right? This is somebody I used to work with in management, and she's really pissed at me. 1, for leaving, and 2, now this, right? I'm using my Sea Org comm lines. In other words, a couple of the staff are hanging out with me and having fun and are helping me trying to sort out my freeloaders debt and what I can do to make amends to Scientology so I can get on service. I'm trying to get in a position to pay Scientology money and do the bridge. And they are doing everything they can to stop me from doing that. That's basically what's happening here. Not okay, and he knows better. He should not have gone to Twin Cities. It is extremely out PR and gives the entire wrong message. What message? What message? What is she even talking about? Right? The above isn't all what he has done as to distractions, but is on an immediate basis what I know. Now, I'm gonna tell you guys something about the person who wrote this report, which I hope will make you laugh, because it sure as hell made me laugh. So, according to Scientology, let me just check back in with you guys on things here. Okay. Okay, great. The LRH communicator for the Western United States, which is a very senior position in management, it's not a small job, wrote a report on me, wrote numerous reports on me about going out to Twin Cities and going out 2D. In other words, having this relationship with this staff member out there that I wasn't supposed to have, right? Both when I was a Sea Org member, when I was, married and all that, and then how dare I try to have that after I leave the Sea Org. Her name was Weiss. This was this woman. I think she was Swedish. Weiss, the LRH communicator West US, a year after writing this report, I believe it was within a year, went to Twin Cities herself on a recruitment mission, hooked up with a guy who was not her husband, blew the Sea Org, I think went back to Sweden or something, and they had to go get her and recover her. And as far as I know, they successfully recovered her and got her back in. But I did think that it was hilarious that all the stuff that she was so pissed off at me about, she literally did herself a year later. And I don't blame her one tiny bit. I just thought it was hilarious. Okay, now what was happening is these guys are huffing and puffing at me for months about how I shouldn't be in the org, shouldn't be on anybody's lines, shouldn't be interpolating the staff, but nobody's giving me any positive direction on what I should be doing as a Scientologist. And I was trying to communicate by emails and back and forth and all of this, and I wasn't getting anywhere. And the staff who had the ability to directly communicate with management, who were my friends, were trying to pitch for me, right? We're like, hey, what does Chris need to do? We want to get Chris back on. You know, what should we do, right? And I was trying to, like, you know, tell them, don't be upset with the Sea Org guys. You know, they're really pissed at me right now, and it's all kind of a thing. And I was trying to play it all low and trying to keep it all close and not make it out that the Sea Org were a bunch of assholes. But, you know, they are. That is what the Sea Org is. They are a collection of lunatics and assholes. And you know, and so did I used to be. So finally, right? I'm a freeloader. I'm somebody who broke his contract. That's what I have as my official status as a Scientologist. But they're trying to get the freeloader's debt. They can't get it. They're trying to find out what policy says I can't come into the org. There isn't any. And finally, this comes down in May 2013. On January 16th, 2013, Chris Shelton was dismissed from CLO staff. Oh, yeah, let me throw this up on the screen for you guys. Let me check this real fast. Yes, okay, good. Sorry. There it is. That's my goldenrod, or one of my goldenrods. Routed off staff, counted for his materials, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, here they go. Okay, so this was posted up on the notice board of the Twin Cities Church so that all the staff would no longer want to talk to me, deal with me, or in any way communicate. That's what this was for. This is the first effort of the Church of Scientology to character assassinate me. Before they even declared me, this was round one. Chris received a committee of evidence issued on 20 July 2012, which documents out ethics, slackness, and 2D type out ethics unbecoming of a Sea Org member. Chris's tenure on staff, yeah, I masturbated. Chris's tenure on staff includes abandoning duties and blowing from post in 2004, for which he was COMEV'd. I've told you all about those 3 days that I spent in Pasadena, right? When I had a psychotic episode. I mean, I don't really say psychotic. I shouldn't put it that way. I wasn't that far gone, but I was pretty messed up. As well as out 2D in 2005, for which he was transferred to the RPF, right? As of his committee of evidence of 20 July 2012, Chris was again coming up with low ethics level activities and abandoning his post duties as a Sea Org member. He was assigned a condition of treason and dismissed from staff. That was when I left the Sea Org on my own bat. I said, I want to leave. And they said, okay, we're going to give you a justice action because fuck you. And that was this committee of evidence that I got in July 2012. Up until the point I said I wanted to leave, I was considered an upstat, ethical, productive Sea Org member who was kicking ass. I recovered hundreds of people to Scientology through my efforts over a couple years in Twin Cities and in other places. That's the guy. That's who I was. I was the guy who you could send to a place and I would get you Scientologists. I did it in Las Vegas. I did it in Orange County, Seattle, Portland, and Twin Cities. So I just kept doing it, and I kept doing a good job until I got sick of it, and I wanted to leave. And then comes the committee of evidence about what an asshole and slack and out ethics I am. That's the actual sequence of events, just so we're all clear. But they put it all reverse-wise. Chris is now routed off staff, attesting he's accounted for the materials, He's a freeloader, not permitted entrance into any Scientology organization or contact with Scientology organization staff in accordance with policy letter primary duties, section freeloaders, and FO 2626, section desertion. As though I deserted the Sea Org, which I did not do. He is debarred from any training or processing by anyone or in any org until he has made good his indebtedness and has fully handled his ethics condition. So this is just short of a suppressive person declare, and it's worded very much the same way. And this entire issue is called a dismissal order. That's not what you do with somebody who routes out of the Sea Org the way I did. You don't do a dismissal order, you just route them out. But they made an exception for me because the staff in Twin Cities were actually trying to help me to do more Scientology and be more of a Scientologist, and the Sea Org didn't want that. They wanted me gone. All right. Now, just to show you all that I was above the boards and really in there pitching, here's a commendation written the day after this arrives in the org about help I gave about 10 days prior to volunteer and pass out the Way to Happiness book down at a park because I couldn't go into the org. So I went out and I spent an entire day passing out Way to Happiness books, right? What can I do? And the guy I worked with wrote a commendation on me. Don Brown. God, old Don. That guy was on OT7 for 10 years. Anyway, so I was out there working. I was trying. I was getting out there. I was trying to do my thing, but they just were not into it. Then we go to also the same day that I'm getting this commendation written on me, the LRH communicator in Twin Cities decides to write another report on me. I've X'd out the names of the applicable people there, but it comes up that I am now dating the staff member and blah, 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 and how dare I. And the has of the org, this other staff member, my friend, was trying to help me with getting all the things going that I needed to do in order to get on service. And she's writing knowledge reports on the fact that all of this is happening. Also, a few days later, here's another one. Same person, right? And another report on me about the same kind of stuff. She's just really, really pissed that I am trying to live a life. You know? How dare I? Here's another report written 27 May when the people over in Los Angeles find out about what's, that I'm dating a staff member and trying to have a life. They also pitch in writing reports on me. And it was around this time, I believe, that I was contacted and told that I needed to return to Los Angeles immediately for my new committee of evidence because I was being interpretive on org lines. I love all the Scientologies I get to go back to and telling you guys this stuff. So it took me a month and a half or so to sort all that out and get that committee of evidence to not have to happen because I didn't have the money or the willingness at this point to fly back to LA to get a committee of evidence on me for not having done anything wrong, right? I was just living my life now, and they just couldn't deal with that. So it took me a month and a half or so to sort that out. Now, by this time, I have already gone down the internet rabbit hole. So while all of this is happening, and I'm out passing out Way to Happiness books, and I'm out doing all these things that I'm doing, trying to get in good graces with the church again so that I can have this relationship and have a life. While that's happening, right? So I'm no longer trying to do Scientology really, but I'm still making like I am. Yeah, the ComEv thing gets sorted out. Sorry, I got a little lost there for a second. And then I'm posting on Scientology message board. And this is the earliest post I could find when I went looking, because ESMB is not really up the same way. I mean, it is, it's accessible, but I don't have the logon I used to have anymore, so I can't access it or log into it to find all of the I hate duplicity. You see the little avatar there of the minion? That was me. That was my first anonymous account online. And I named myself I Hate Duplicity because I was pissed off about what I was discovering and learning. And that was the name that occurred to me for how I was feeling at that time. And I started posting, and look at what I found here. This is from July 23rd of 2013. And what am I posting about? Julian fucking Schwartz at AOLA and my knowledge of him in regards to, and this is all the way back in 2013. Yeah, this was in regards to how he would handle things for RTC and that kind of thing, right? The same guy who was victimizing the Jane Does for Danny Masterson and has been behind so many other very important and very confidential and hidden dirty deeds that Scientology's been up to. This guy. So I was trying to dish on this guy and other things. This is just the first one I could find. I think there might have been a few posts that I wrote before this one, but not long before. This is when I started I was so upset with what was going on, getting fucked around with by Scientology, and by then learning everything about Scientology and how awful this whole thing was. Like way, way, way worse than I had ever imagined it was. Way worse, right? I mean, I learned all the crap. And suddenly it was like, oh, I got to get the hell away from this stuff. So it's a little bit of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde a little bit, because I'm trying to make good with the church, but then I'm going online and I'm writing stuff up, right? And dishing on Scientology and trying to stay anonymous while I'm doing it. So then, okay, so this is July 23rd. I thought you guys would get a kick out of this, because the next day I get a letter from the CLO, July 24th, from Treasury, and they finally have my freeloaders debt all figured out, and they're ready to rock and get money from me so that I can get back on the bridge and get going. And I got this letter saying I'll get a 25% credit on every payment. So every $100 I pay, I'll get a credit of $25 more paid on the bill, right? And my balance here is, I did not scan or post it up here, but this is my freeloaders debt. They really whittled it down, because most of what I did in the Sea Org was, in terms of services, whereas actually on the RPF. Because I wasn't really, I didn't do any bridge progress while I was in the Sea Org. 17 years, I didn't move one step on the bridge. And they don't charge you for the RPF stuff, because that's all co-audited. So the entirety of my Sea Org bill was $4,362.50. And I paid that entire thing by borrowing the money from my then girlfriend's father, the big whale for Twin Cities, and I paid it all off. Boom, right? Paid the whole thing down, and paid off my freeloaders debt in July, so that we could cool this whole thing off, and these guys could calm down, and we could just get on with life, right? That was the reason I borrowed that money and paid that debt, is I was just trying my last-ditch effort to try to move on from all of that nonsense. And, of course, that's not what ended up happening, right? Like I said, they tried to do the ComEv and all that, and then I kept posting online. Things did kind of calm down a little bit, but me being the big, that I am, I got online and I started, and I kept posting, and they figured out who I was. I said too much. It was actually on Tony's blog that I did that. My fault. It wasn't anything Tony did. And they came out and they busted me. And I have told that whole story even recently about how OSA flew a couple Sea Org members out to Los Angeles, and or to Twin Cities, and basically declared me without declaring me. And I had to do what were called the A to E steps. And what I have here, I didn't throw this up on the screen, but I thought you guys would be interested in this, is, oh yeah, it was in July, 28 July, and by 6th of August, they had canceled the committee of evidence. That was that thing. That took a few months to sort out. And I paid off the freeloaders bill and all that. And I wrote this whole thing saying, hey guys, you know, the matter's all handled. Let's all be friends again. No more reports of interbulation or upset from me, right? I'm not on the org's lines, and I've worked to avoid doing anything similar to what precipitated the reports being written in the first place. I do not even go on Facebook anymore and comment on any postings from staff members or put anything on their lines. I was so not a Scientologist anymore when I was writing this. You know, calling a ComEv is itself an ethics gradient. So as the purpose of justice is to get one to get his ethics in, I would like to submit that I have done so and there's no need for further action on this line. The purpose of justice has been served, right? Okay, so then they find out I'm actually not handled at all and they come out and see me. And then by December 22nd, 2013, I have at this point received a letter from my significant other at that point, right? This woman I'd been out there for. She had to go back down to Flag in Clearwater for a bunch more training in preparation for the release of Golden Age of Tech Phase 2. And while she was down there, they busted her. They found out from her phone when they inspected it that she had been in touch with me and that we had been talking and dating and, you know, messing around. And they were very, very, very pissed at her about that. And she got in a lot of trouble for no reason whatsoever except for, you know, falling in love with somebody. And Scientology, you know, pretty much spiritually beat that out of her with its intense ethics. And she decided to disconnect from me and wrote me a letter saying, we're over. Not only are we over, but, you know, I don't ever want to see you again. Don't ever talk to me again, and blah, blah, blah. And this was a woman who literally had agreed to marry me. So to say I was devastated was, you know, an understatement. So I thought you guys would like to hear my final official communication to the Church of Scientology that they actually did receive and heard. And this was sent to the guy who was overseeing my A to E steps. Those A to E steps we've talked about, right? GAT2. Yeah, you couldn't call it GAT2. That was a Tech D grade. So you had to call it GAT. Yeah. OBG Foster, the question, why is it your fault if someone became interbulated? Isn't it due to their reactive mind? No. I was the one, as the ex-Sea Org member, out ethics, running around interbulating everybody. And what they were doing was basically putting me on notice, you know, your very presence. Like I said, I was there and I communicated. And those were the crimes I committed. And it's just hilarious to me that actually kind of fits with what L. Ron Hubbard has to say about it. It's funny, right? Because his own church, his own activity boots people out doing exactly what he describes people do. So after getting that letter and after being as devastated as I was, this was my final communication to the church. Dear Lon, it's not all 2 pages. This is most of it right here, but let me just go through this. I am hereby withdrawing my A to E steps and canceling any effort on my part to do them. This was, by the way, my best effort on 22 December 2013 at being rational and reasonable and keeping myself chill. This was my best effort to apply the little bit of critical thinking and reasonability that I had learned about right, in trying to communicate to them, because I knew that there was no reason, even though I really, really wanted to. I knew there was no reason for me to send him, you know, a great big picture of me, you know, flipping him the bird or a middle finger or something, which did I want to do that? Because that would just antagonize and upset him. And I wanted him to read this. I have no idea where this dude is at now or if this had any effect on him at all, but this was my effort all the way back then. This is I am hereby withdrawing my A to E steps, canceling any effort on my part to do them. This is the last of the lies I have had connected with Scientology, and I'm coming clean to you about it now. I am sure you don't believe this, but it is true that when I left the CLO a year ago, I truly did desire to go up the bridge and be a contributing and active member of the church for the rest of my life. My game plan was exactly what I said it was. I never lied about that. I even paid my freeloader debt. Would I have done that if I didn't mean to carry on in Scientology? You probably have to convince yourself that I was always a bad apple, that my 27 years of dedicated full-time work for the church was all some kind of lie, and that it meant nothing to me. Perhaps you even think that I'm a full-blown psychotic who always had it in for people. It doesn't much matter to me what you or anyone else in the church thinks about me, because I know who and what I am and what I did, the good and the bad, and I'm more than happy to be responsible for all of it. It did mean something to me, and I was honest and forthright in my work. I had plenty of opportunities to give up, and I didn't. I even got through the RPF, which you know is not an easy cycle. But when my church turned its back on me, when I was ostracized for no other reason than for choosing how I wanted to live my life and where I wanted to live it, then I became a pariah, and the true colors of the church shone through vividly. And it was only then, only after that happened, that I turned to the internet to find out what was going on and why. And I found out why. And I cannot describe to you the depths of the betrayal and the loss and the anguish I felt. The church made me into its own enemy. It had to work quite hard to do it, but it managed to turn me around. I do not desire to go back in the good standing of the church of Scientology under its current leadership and methodology. I am sure you know what I'm referring to. To continue on this path would be a gross violation of my own integrity and knowingness. Even if you choose to not understand that, I am sure you can respect it. I have to follow what is true for me, not what anyone else says is true. I walk away from Scientology a better person than when I came in. I have a lot of people to thank for that. I received a lot of help through the years. I don't deny any of that or make less of it. And there is a great deal I gained from the tech. I still do, and I imagine I will for the rest of my life. I want to thank you. I actually wrote this. I want to thank you for your honest help to me during my route out cycle and coming out here to talk to me. I truly appreciate everything you did. Yours was the only friendly and honest voice I had from the church over the past 2 years. I know you believe in what you do. I used to be in the same place. I hold you no ill will. There is much more I could say about the church, but I won't bother. You don't want to hear it, and I don't want to waste my time any more than I already have. We will obviously continue to be in communication about the divorce with my ex-wife until it's finalized. I was still, I will be filing the papers with the court tomorrow and rapidly moving on to the next steps. I guess December. When did that finalize? It was a little later than I thought, because it did only take days after I got it filed. Oh, that's right. I had to wait 6 months living in Minnesota before I could file it. That's why it waited until then. Okay, and I didn't even know that until like June or July. We were still trying to make the LA thing happen. Anyway, so that's my final communication to the Church of Scientology at that time. And of course, a week later, it was actually literally... Yeah, it was a week later that he called me. You're declared a suppressed person. I said, no shit. And that was that. So I was done, right? And then as I put in my write-up today, I was contacted shortly after the whole declare thing, and I showed up. Right there's a screenshot of me showing up on Karen De La Carrier's Surviving Scientology channel on February 7th, 2014. And if you want to see a little motion of that, I'm not going to play the whole video here, but there's the beginning, and there's that intro part of me up in Seattle back in 2009. So you get a little bit of a movie there of me. That's, as far as I know, this is the only video of me in the Sea Org from my time there. You can see I used to have a little bit more hair back in the back. Anyway, this is the intro for the video that I ended up doing with Karen, and we had a blast. You know, we had a whole total blast on this. I look like Ed Harris. Thank you. So, yeah. So that was that. Let's go back to here. Here we are. Okay, guys. Yeah. So that's the story. That was the year. That's what happened that year, at least according to all the records that I have. I went to find some other stuff that I wanted to show you guys that I had brought out of the Sea Org with me, but unfortunately that has been digitally lost. When my hard drive crashed, I had my old life history form, and I had statistics, and I had some other things that I was going to show you guys. I've been saving it all this time. But then my computer crashed on me about a month ago, and I lost a bunch of stuff. So, sorry. I don't have the life history and other things to show you. But what a year. That's right. No, you don't get to keep your uniform and stuff. I had to turn all that stuff back in. I do have one thing I can show you. As far as a show and tell goes, I have kept this all this time. There are a couple things I kept in my little cufflinks case here. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. I forgot I had this. Oh, and this. Oh my God. Okay. This is all the show and tell I have from my time in the Sea Org. This is my tie pin of the little seahorse. I did not know I still had this. I wore this thing, anyway, long ass time. Every day, right? Suit and tie. So I kept my Sea Org tie pin. This is my IAS lifetime member pin. Still have this. Now, this is what made me laugh. This is an American flag pin. But you know when we got this? They gave these out on September 9th, 2001 in Pac Base, and we all wore these. And I kept it because I wore it for a good long time, right? This was not just some Sea Org thing for me. 9/11 hit me hard. And then this is my clear bracelet. I've kept this whole time. And in fact, and I wore this every day. I got this July 2nd, 1993. That's when I attested to the state of clear in Orange County at the org there. And I was clear number 42,556. As though that means anything in the Scientology anymore. I had that clear status taken away from me, as did, thousands of other people, in what was one of David Miscavige's most blatant money grabs. So, yeah, it does look like a little bit like a medical alert bracelet. That's right. Okay, so that's my show and tell, guys. That's my 10 years of show and tell. Wow, huh? All that. I think I can go burn all this stuff now. Like I said, I've literally saved all of this in a file for today. And this stuff I'll keep, of course. But there you go. I want to, let's see here. Let's go back over. Let me check in. Leslie, it feels Let me see if this is the right word. Sorry, but that's a good question. Let me see if this is the right word. Yeah, I guess that is the word. It's bittersweet. That's what this feels like tonight. It feels a little bittersweet. I am very, 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 very happy. I really am. I mean, there's way more happy than there is, bitter or whatever. But this brings back a lot of memories. There's a lot of memories here. And I haven't thought about a lot of this stuff in a while. Not at this level, not this deeply, right? Just kind of putting it together again. But lots of memories of that year. And that year was the best and worst year of my life in so many ways. 2013 was. So 2014, the 10 years ago, was the sort of the beginning of I don't want to get corny. It was just the beginning of me living life on my terms and figuring that out for myself, because it was a real habit for me for a long time to live life on everyone else's terms and constantly striving in my life to make everybody else around me happy. And I figured if everybody else around me was happy, I was going to be happy. That was what my happiness was going to be. And I was wrong about that. And that's what, it was one of the things that woke me up to getting out of the Sea Org, was realizing I was making everybody around me happy. They were blissfully happy. They were happy with me. They were happy with what I was doing. And it wasn't bringing me any happiness at all. And nobody gave a shit about me. It was, I was servicing everybody else, but nobody was caring about me, right? 17 years in the Sea Org, not one step on the bridge. How is that even possible? How is that possible that you can be 17 years in Scientology and not move one step on their bridge? In fact, move backwards to the point of being at the same place at the bottom after all those years. So what a scam, right? What a scam. Okay. I think we should start wrapping up. I want to thank all of you, right? 10 years under is now done. Is there going to be another 10 years? You bet there is. At least according to my plans right now. This is my outlet. This is my job. This is my life. And YouTube is not. This is, this is getting information, helping, working with people one-on-one, the consultations. That's what's important. The video stuff is, but I do intend on continuing to use this platform. I have no plans on going anywhere. So we'll see what happens in the next 10 years, but I think it's going to be, better than the last. And the last have been pretty good. There's been a lot of good stuff in the last decade. So that's what I can say about that. All right, guys. Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And on that happy note, let's go ahead and wrap up tonight. What is today? Wednesday. So you guys are going to see me again on Friday night, right here with my wife, okay, for Critical Conversations. We'll come up with something good to talk about. And mark your calendar for February 29th, 2 weeks from tomorrow, I think it is. We are doing the tone scale video right here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 weeks and a day from tonight, right? 3 weeks from tomorrow. So mark the calendar for that. And that'll be during the day. I'm not going to do that at this time. That'll be earlier in the day. So anyway, watch for that. And, okay. I guess I just wrap up here. So, where is it? There it is. Okay, good. All right, guys. You're awesome. Bye-bye.